If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe. We have battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content every week. Thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by. This video will be going over my final list for the April 19th RTT. Sackville Slugfest 8 is a 2,000 point tournament. What detachment and list did I end up going with? My No Wardens Lines of the Emperor list. I know, No Wardens, I must be losing my mind, but after testing this and playing a few games, I think this is the list I'm going to take. Let's go through the list. I will try to explain my madness with some of my thoughts from playing this detachment over the last few weeks and playing this list over the past few days. Let's take a look at my Lines of the Emperor RTT list. I've named this one the Lines of War. It comes to 2,000 points exactly. Our Warlord is Trajann with Allarus. For other characters, we do have 2 shield captains in the Allarus armor. One has the Ad Moni Mortis enhancement with the Custodian axe. The other has the Superior Creation enhancement with the Guardian Spear. For our battle line, we do have 2 units of 4 Custodian Guard, 3 with spears, and 1 with the Sentinel Blade and Presidium Shield. Then we do have a unit of 5 Custodian Guard, 2 spears, 2 Sentinel Blades with their Presidium Shields, and 1 Vexilla in that unit as well. For our other data sheets, we do have 2 units of 2 Allarus Terminators with the Guardian Spears. Those are going to be joining the Allarus Shield Captains. 3 units of 2 Vertus Praetors with the Hurricane Bolters, a unit of 5 Prosecutors, and finally 2 units of 4 Witchseekers. For our allied units, we do have Inquisitor Draxus and an Inquisitor to join up with those 2 units of 4 Custodian Guard. And that's my list. It comes to 2,000 points. Once again, no Wardens, but I do like how this list feels on the table. Now let's move on to the unit breakdown. We'll start the breakdown with Trajann with Allarus, our Warlord with the 5 Custodian Guard. No Wardens, are you crazy? I just might be, but hear me out first. Trajann with the Guard fits with my theme of good shooting with reroll wounds. But why 3 shields? It makes the unit very tanky. I find Wardens can be taken out by those damage 3 weapons when they're not using their 4+ Fuel Pain quite easily. No, the unit is still not as overall survivable as a unit of 5 Wardens. My game plan is not to need that one phase of 4+ Fuel Pain. This is a pressure first list. Trajann with Allarus, Trey, his Moment Shackle ability has to be used at the start of the fight phase, giving Trajann either a 2+ invulnerable or 12 attacks. Meaning if he is low on wounds, we could use this and the Fight on Death stratagem for 2+ to make sure he gets his 12 attacks off. A Fight on Death stratagem, along with a fallback shoot and charge stratagem, there's many ways to take advantage of Moment Shackle in this list with Trajann with Allarus. Even better, we can use Gilded Champions to use Moment Shackle twice. And 12 attacks with Trajann is really strong. It's only AP2, but it's 12 attacks with Custodian Guard, so hopefully we're re-rolling the wounds as well. And into a lot of targets, you're already wounding on 2s. Even if we're not on an objective with the Custodian Guard, we can still re-roll our wounds of 1, so it makes Trajann quite reliable with those 12 attacks. Trajann also has a 2 attack, strength 5, AP2, damage 3 gun in his Watcher's Axe. Combine that with all the shooting from the Custodian Guard, and then the once per game double tap. This is another unit that is going to be surprising opponents in the shooting. Shoot this unit at an enemy Rhino with all the buffs, re-rolling the wounds, +1 to the wound. You can pretty reliably take out that Rhino. I do like to use this unit to eventually take the center. We do have to take the center a bit different with a No Wardens list. You can't just run them on the center, use a 4 Fuel of Pain to survive. We do have to be a little more careful with these Custodian Guard. I need to make sure when I do take the center, it's part of my go turn. I want to take it while I'm pushing up the board towards the enemy deployment. If not, I at least want my opponent to have multiple targets they feel they need to get rid of, but not enough firepower to do it. I don't want to feed my units one at a time to my opponent's army. This Lines of the Emperor list comes in waves of Custodes. Next up is our 2 Allarus Shield Captains with their unit of 2 Allarus. The first one we'll talk about is the one with the Ad Moni Mortis enhancement. I've tried this on the Guardian Spear. Going from AP2 to AP3 is nice, and it does help against those 2+ save targets. I do prefer the Custodian axe though. Adding 3 strength, AP1 and damage 1, taking it to 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 12, AP2, damage 4. That is some serious damage threat to enemy vehicles and monsters. It makes my Allarus Shield Captain feel like an in-lore Custodes. It makes this Shield Captain feel really scary on the board. Then we have the other Allarus Shield Captain with the Superior Creation, and that enhancement allows him to stand back up on death on a 2+ with full wounds remaining. And the idea of this unit is to be a hard-hitting anvil with a possible 2 uses of Oromite and Adamantine to reduce all incoming damage to 1 for a phase, and then it can stand back up on a 2+ with full wounds remaining. The reason I decided to attach 2 Allarus to both of these shield captains, this will give them access to reroll the wound roll into vehicle, monsters, and character units, as well as the Golden Light ability for at the end of the opponent's turn, we can pick this unit up, put it back in reserves, deep strike it back in a later turn, or even rapid ingress it. The shield captain with the Ad Monte Mortis Axe is the best unit in my list for taking out the toughest, scariest things in the enemy army. These Allarus also lean into my theme of shoot first, ask questions later. 6 spear shots and 3d6 plus blast ballistics grenade launcher shots with that +1 to hit and +1 to the wound, also with the idea of re-rolling wounds as much as possible. The Superior Creation unit has been fantastic for slowing down big scary units like Angron or hard-hitting but low attack units. Next up is Inquisitor Draxus with 4 Custodian Guard. Draxus attached to Custodian Guard is already one of our top units for killing infantry and shooting. Now with +1 to hit and +1 to the wound, with the against all odds detachment rule, the unit becomes even more reliable at shooting infantry. It also gives the unit some threat into some tougher targets. I've been able to pick up rhinos and other toughness 10 vehicles quite reliably with this unit. All Draxus ranged attacks are damage 2, along with the Custodian Guard spears. Failed saves will take chunks out of the opponent's army. The Martial Kata army rule checks if the unit has Martial Kata. Draxus does get our Custodes Karate in the fight phase too. If we can get this unit on the objective they control, the amount of damage they can do with +1 to the hit and +1 to the wound, the shooting can rip units apart. I usually have these lurking around our deployment zone or the mid board or even onto our expansion objective to make sure I'm getting the reroll the wound roll from being on an objective I control. They are the third wave of my Custodes marching up the board. For the first few turns, I will use them to pick off enemy infantry with their shooting. This unit makes enemy infantry put on those brown pants. Next up is the Inquisitor with 4 Custodian Guard. This is a new unit in my RTT list. It has been performing better than I had hoped. It is not the same raw infantry killing of the Draxus unit, but it does have some real threat in this detachment. The Custodian Guard give the units reroll wounds of 1 or reroll the wound roll if we're on the objective we control. They also have that shoot twice per game ability. For a Custodian Guard, that is 2 shots per model, hitting on 2s, strength 4, AP 1, with hopefully getting that +1 to the wound roll from the against all odds detachment rule. And let's take a look at the Inquisitor and what it adds to the unit. The Inquisitor has a movement of 5, 4-up save with a 5-up invulnerable, 4 wounds, 6 leadership, and an OC of 1. We do have the bolt pistol and the combi weapon. I do have the combi weapon equipped to my Inquisitor, and I have the Psychic Shockwave. The Psychic Shockwave is what we're really looking at. 18-inch range, 2d6, it's torrent so it automatically hits, strength 3, AP 2, damage 1 with devastating wounds. So that's why we want to reroll the wound roll. We're looking for those devastating wounds. For the abilities, we have the Authority of the Inquisition and Power of the Rosette. And for the warrior options, we can either have the bolt pistol or the combi weapon. The model's Blessed Wardens can replace with Psychic Gifts and Psychic Shockwave, which is what I did for this unit. And if you do have the Psychic Gifts, your Inquisitorial weapon can be replaced with a Forced weapon. And that is what I did with this Inquisitor as well. What we're also looking at is that Power of the Rosette. Each time you target this model's unit with a stratagem, you can roll a d6 on a 3+, you gain 1 CP. And what I like to use this for is the Swift as the Eagle, so if this unit does get shot, after that attacking unit is done shooting, you can roll a d6 and move that amount in inches for a normal move, and hopefully we can roll a 3+ and get that CP back. The Inquisitor adds a decent amount of shooting threat to the list. 2d6 devastating wounds torrent attacks can spike for some major wounds into infantry or vehicles. Give it that possible reroll the wounds and double tap from the Custodian Guard. Now the Inquisitor is looking even better. It also gives us a credible Overwatch threat, something we are lacking in most of these detachments. Once again, not as potent as the Draxus Custodian Guard unit, but a great unit all the same. Now let's take a look at the Vertus Praetors. I do have 3 units of 2 with this list running the Hurricane Bolters, and I decided to go with 3 units of 2 for the list. I really like the units of 2 in the list. They are fast, which allows them to get outside of 6 inches for that detachment rule much easier than infantry units. They are a great wave 1 unit for putting pressure on objectives with that 18-inch movement with their auto advance 6 ability. Each unit has Hurricane Bolters, that's 12 attacks within rapid fire range. You add +1 to the wound roll, and all of a sudden those Hurricane Bolters are a real threat to enemy units. They're strength 4, AP 1, damage 2 with twin length. +1 to the wound will not help them when they charge, since they do have that lance ability on their melee weapons. It will help them though if they get charged or they're in ongoing combat, where they'll get that +1 to the hit and wound roll from our detachment rule as long as we're outside of 6 inches of other friendly units. And we can also drop some mortal wound bombs with these jet bikes. Quicksilver Execution can now be used in a normal or advanced move. Swift as an Eagle for 1 CP is a D6 normal move, meaning we could use this to drop some mortal wounds down on an enemy unit if we fly over it during that D6 normal move. And remember, you don't need to fly over the entire unit, you just need to clip one model in that unit and then you can drop some bombs. These are not easy to take out, they do take some effort to kill. I have been using these to aid in my big go turn push. They can push far into the enemy lines while we take control of the mid board with our infantry. It causes a lot of target priority confusion. Do I take the objectives back or do I kill these bikes in my lines? Let's finish off our unit breakdown with our 2 Psychono units. Our first unit is our unit of 5 Prosecutors. The Prosecutors do get access to the detachment rule. It does make them a fair bit more deadly. These are not in the list for damage though, these are here for scoring points. I do have this one big 5-man Prosecutor unit to hold my home objective. Especially if there's no indirect or 6-inch deep strike, it will free up one of my Custodian guard units. This way I don't need to use one of my big expensive units to stand on my home objective all game. I was thinking of another unit of Witchseekers since I did have the 50 points left over. I decided to take the unit of 5 Prosecutors since it is a larger screening potential, harder to kill with that 1 extra unit, but it will give my opponent access to blast since this will be a 5-man unit now instead of the normal 4-man unit. Finally, my favorite Psychono unit, the Witchseekers. We do have 2 units of 4 Witchseekers in this list. These Witchseekers are key to my turn 1 and overall game plan. I use these to either screen out turn 1 charges or move block. What I really like them for is that 6-inch scout to get on objectives early and score early points. We can even cause a battle shock test to one enemy unit hit by their torrent weapons. The Witchseekers will let me grab objectives early to draw my opponent out to take them back or lose on points. The Witchseekers are part of wave 1 of my game plan. They do have access to the +1 to the hit and wound roll from the detachment rule. The Witchseekers have a D6, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1, ignores cover, torrent weapon, so +1 to the hit roll really won't make a difference, but +1 to the wound roll will get these barbecuing light infantry units and threatening medium infantry units as well. I really like the Witchseekers in the lines of the Emperor. The 6-inch scope move starts the get outside of 6 inches mindset for the detachment. Like the Prosecutors, Swift as an Eagle for 1 CP can be used to save this unit from more shooting if they survive that first volley of attacks, but it is low on our priority since we do have our bigger, more expensive units we want to keep safe with this stratagem. Let's go through my game plan for this list and then some final thoughts for the end of the video. The movement phase with this list is the most important phase. We do not have Wardens for that 4-up funeral pain to bail us out of some bad unit placement. We need to make sure our units get in good shooting angles onto enemy units while not getting shot off the board ourselves. No Bladechampion to advance and charge. What this list does have is very potent shooting in melee with reroll wounds everywhere, backed up by a fantastic detachment. We can't pile up on our enemies in this detachment or we lose the +1 to the hit and +1 to the wound roll detachment rule. +1 to our wound roll is one of, if not the best damage buff in all of 40k. In most of my games so far, high pressure has been the name of the game. With no Wardens, I cannot give my opponent time to pick off my units one by one. I have to have multiple units in either engagement range or in great places to shoot. The shooting in this list is good, but it's not going to nuke the opponents off the board. I need to stage my melee and the shooting in the list to make sure I get the most out of my units. Target priority is also really important. I've mentioned waves in my unit breakdown, so I do want to move my units up the board in waves. That way I'm not bunched up and not taking advantage of my detachment rule. So wave 1, this will consist of my Witchseekers and the Vertus Praetors. These will push up the board to grab early objectives, get board control, and score early points. The Prosecutors will hold my home objective. Wave 2, this is the Allarus units in the Trajann Custodian Guard unit. The Emperor's Axe Allarus, aka the Ad Monte Mortis Enhanced Allarus, will start the game in reserves. The bikes can easily move outside of 6 inches and push further into the opponent's army. Wave 3, my last wave, will be the Custodian Guard. I want to have them for the most part in the first few turns, standing back and shooting their potent guns up the board. This is my gun line, but it still hits very hard in melee, so I do eventually want to get them into melee. The reason I run this in waves of 3 is to take advantage of the shooting, melee, and overall toughness of the list while getting the most of the detachment rule to score high points and cut the enemy down. Let's finish the video with some final thoughts. I hope I have convinced some of you to try a shooting heavy Custodes list. There was a Lines of the Emperor GT win over the weekend that only had 4 Wardens in his list. I will make a video that will be covering that list. I know for this No Wardens list, I may have to wait until after the tournament to bring back some real results to show that it really is viable. Either come back a winner or come back to I told you so, aka I told us so. The current top winner of these RTT tournaments I've been going to is a Drukhari player. I feel having a way to crack those weaker transports with my shooting will really play into my favor compared to a Shield Host list where I need to try to charge them, crack them open to get at those squishy insides. This way, if I get lucky, I can shoot them open with my first volley, double tap to shoot the stuff that was inside. We'll see how that goes. I'll let you know. The tournament is this weekend, April 19th. I will have a video covering how this tournament went on the following Wednesday. We do also have our Necron player, Forge Master Mike, coming as well, and our Emperor's Children player, the Blushing Noise Marine. So hopefully, one of us will get a win, or at least a nice high placement to bring back to the channel. Wish me luck. Subscribe for the results video next week. We have weekly battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content. Like always, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by.